and
Yep.
you just go for any kind of tissue that you could possibly find.
True.
It's,
Very
it's,
true.
Phew.
it's
So
better
I
than
expect
tissue
I
paper.
expect to sneeze. I'll try to sneeze away from the microphone. Oh my goodness. Before we went live, Fred was talking about what he pulled up a book that he has written and said that somewhere in the first or second quarter of 2023 he'll have another one out, and he's all about attitude.
Yes.
So Fred, tell us about your attitude. There might be something here for us. I think so.
Yeah. People say, well, how come you're just always up? You're never in a down mood. That's false. Sometimes it's a choice everybody has to make. So a lot of times you get up in the morning, you ladies have a bad hair day. Us guys have a flat tire day. Things don't always go perfect, but what you need to do is just make a choice. Hey, I'm lucky I got a car. I'm lucky I, can fix a flat tire. I changed my got tos into a get to, and instead of I got to fix this flat tire, I get to fix this. I get to do this thing because I'm allowed to, and that all depends on your attitude. And I always say that if your attitude's in the right place, then you can solve problems. You can get ahead. You'll stay healthier, and everything you do will be a lot easier and a lot more successful. So attitude to me is everything, especially if you two, like JJ and Natalie, if you're dealing with health, attitude is imperative. It's everything. So thanks for asking, Christine.
I'm wondering how long it took to make that a habit.
And I'm kind of lucky. I've always been an optimist, and I always look for the silver lining in the cloud somewhere. I said, pile of manure. There's got to be a pony in here somewhere. There's just got to be that pony. And I'm lucky enough to have that attitude. And God shared with me a long time ago, you need to share it with others. And so that's been my blessing. That's been he said, do this, and I'm doing it. So I'm lucky. I'm blessed on doing it.
Well, Kimberly, earlier today, for me, it was 7 a.m. There was a gal that came on to my husband's show that he does with his buddy, and she is a urologist. And I'm like, urologists are heroes. And she says, I'm known for what I do and, making life more livable and more comfortable and more healthy for people. But she's also got, she's somehow in charge of a group that is a place for physicians to go, to be listened to be understood, to have someone say, so are you feeling burnout? Because physicians, and you are an RN, it can be thought that it's okay if I make mistakes because all I'm doing is accidentally clicking on something on the computer. But oh my goodness, a person in the medical field, they just can't make mistakes. It's crucial. And that is so much stress to put on a person. But I mostly wanted to tell you that as I was a hired caregiver, I had an RN named Nell that I could contact pretty much night or day when I was on shifts. If I was like, I just walked into a house and there's pills everywhere. I don't want to make this situation worse. Or, I'm hearing things I haven't heard before. What is your advice? Is this a 911 or is this a contact the family? And Nurse Nell, and she was just so, things were they just were. How would you describe yourself, Kimberly? Are you things are just the way they are, or nope, that's not good enough, I am going to tweak that and fix it?
What a question. It depends. So that's, I don't practice as a registered nurse anymore, though I spent decades in that and worked in trauma and the emergency department and literally every intensive care unit there is. So I think that helped me learn to let go of the things that we can't control. But on the other hand, I'm a bit of I like to say, recovering perfectionist, if there's hope for recovering from perfectionism, which means that I always strive to do it better at the same time, too. So, one of those paradoxes. But ask a mediator a question, and the right answer is it depends.
Ask a mediator a question. The right answer is it depends.
It
Oh
depends.
my goodness. And that is your role at this point,
Mhm.
is being a mediator. Do you have like a specialty, or do you just kind of take it as it comes?
Well, that's a great question. I don't have a specialty. I like working in the healthcare area because that's my tribe still after all these years. So I do spend a lot of time with the caregiving community, working with physicians' practices that are having problems, conflicts within their own system, working through families with families going through difficult decisions, especially around end of life. But then I do family mediation and relational
Mm.
mediation and
Ah,
civil. And
fantastic.
my one of my side gigs is a volunteer mediator for the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office with their police community unification program. So I think as a mediator, just building peace wherever we can, whatever little baby steps we can take toward that is pretty much what I'll head into. I often say that I do the two things that nobody wants to talk about: conflict and end of life. And I've made a career out of those two fun topics.
Wow.
Right, right. And what did I say recently? Here I am forcing 50 somethings to face their future fears. And I think I am not the most popular co-ed on the campus. It's like, come on, let's talk about, decades from now, or and it's like, Christine, nobody wants to talk about that. And I'm like, there's got to be somebody. And here you folks show up, because talking about something, very recently, a gal said to me face to face, I've learned that talking about something means that you can deal with it. If you can't even let it out,
Mhm.
then it's just going to stay in here and probably burst out in terrible ways for yourself and others. But if you can talk about it, you can deal with it. And
Correct.
I am so grateful for you. I will just tell you right now, her name is Dr. Diana Londonyan. I think it's all O's, Londonyan. But she works with, I just see what you're doing, coming together, as far as, like you said, your tribe is still your medical community. And I think you two would just be like, ding. So if you don't already know
That's
her,
great.
she might be just a good, something comes your way and you're like, that sounds like a Dr. Diana thing. Maybe that person should go that direction. Hey, Martin, I was excited to have you on because I found you somewhere. I think you and I were in the same clubhouse on our phones or something. And I'm going, he's Norwegian. Yay, my mom's Norwegian. She was born in the Bay Area, but her folks were both from Oslo and Bergen. And I used to imitate my grandmother, whose name was Laura. And when I worked as a teacher, I had some students whose families had come to the U.S. from Norway. And I said, well, her name was Laura, but she would always say, Laura, Laura. And one of them, say again?
Laura.
Yes, and one of them said, "Oh, she's from Oslo." One of the moms said, "She's from Oslo, but I'm from closer to Bergen, and it sounds more like Bergen to me." And I'm going, "Yes, Bergen, yay!" She said that I talked like a Southern Norwegian, Laura.
Yeah.
So but I'm sure it sounds different ways in different spots. But okay? So JJ and Natalie happened upon came into something called the Care Colloquium happening in Roanoke just a couple weeks ago, and I attended virtually, but you attended something virtually this week, and it was Columbia. You tell me.
Me?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I am actually attending that now. It's a Columbia Business School. It's an innovator summit.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness.
so I'm having that on my computer and you here. So I
Wow.
just cut the sound for during this podcast. You know
Oh,
that
thank
that
you. Thank you for squeezing me in. So
well,
Columbia School of Business, and what was it? You're innovating, you're creating something in audiology.
yeah. I
And
have some
so, yeah.
ideas for future audiology. You know, we test hearing the same way today as we did in the birth of audiology in the years after World War II. So there's definitely room for improvement. And I personally believe that audiometry has become a bottleneck for audiology. You know, modern hearing aids have up to 36, 64 channels, and if and we test hearing only in 10 steps, 10 frequencies. You know. So, and between those frequencies, there might be differences. So that's one of the focus points, and I have many more. Just with artificial intelligence, we can learn a great deal about hearing.
Wow.
Just by collecting the data from all the hearing impaired, I guess it will come new diseases or disorders out of it.
Wow.
Or
the
the disease.
technology side of
Oh,
it is fantastic. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the technology
Uh,
side of
you,
it, Mark, is
you know,
unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
progress
so
in. Okay,
you're
sorry,
using a
I'm
lot
not.
of AI, right? Artificial intelligence to help you create the healing factors more rapidly, and the advances are amazing, amazing.
Yes. Sorry, it's my first podcast ever. So I'm.
you're
I'm
starting with the right one, I tell you. That's my opinion.
There you go. And you're sticking
Yeah.
with it, right?
Yeah. So I don't mean to interrupt, and but I really believe that artificial intelligence, technology in whole has made huge advances. But
Yes.
audiology is still doing the same thing as in 1945. So
Wow.
we, we just have to merge the technology and the way we measure hearing. You know.
Huh?
Exactly. Oh, I am so grateful that you are working on that. And obviously, hearing impairments happen at all ages.
Yes, it
What
does.
I have heard that when someone's wearing glasses, it's someone thinks, oh, they need them either for distance or to be able to read. Sometimes there's more specialized needs for eyes. And when someone's wearing hearing aids, they think, aren't you a little bit young to be wearing hearing aids? It's always been put out there. So with technological advances, people could, I just imagine, like you take a little child to a game where everybody's cheering and yelling, or a concert or something, and people put, covers on there. I'm just imagining that someday people will go, let's protect your ear, your hearing. As you said to me, Martin, before we went live, you said this is really good to realize the correlation between hearing situations and Alzheimer's, because my husband and I were involved with Giving Tuesday with the Alz authors for Alzheimer's. And
Well,
I said, that wouldn't that be interesting if it became more predominant, that people said, hey, I'm going to be in a noisy situation, I probably better put in my protectors, because I'm thinking into the future, thinking about keeping those different, the little nuances. And I just don't want to invite Alzheimer's into my life, or hearing loss that could increase Alzheimer's. There's just so many different directions that can go.
yeah.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
was talking about dementia.
Dementia,
So,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yes. So, and there's a correlation between hearing loss and dementia. When people get very isolated and don't hear their surroundings, you can easily start to mess things up in your head.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's kind of logical.
Mhm.
And that's why hearing aids are so important to prevent dementia. So it's
Yeah.
a kind of a precaution for dementia. To be able to hear your surrounding is very important.
To not say, well, I'm not going to see anybody today, so I'll just leave these out. It's
Right.
more stimulating to think, what is that noise outside? Or, oh, the neighbors must be, talking, or, to remain part of life.
Yeah.
So, yay,
Exactly.
I was thinking about JJ and Natalie, because I popped into something that they did. Was it Denise Brown? I don't remember who. Yes, Denise Brown, Caring Academy. You two were like, just go. It's like you two have been practicing for a while, back and forth, who says what, etc. So I just want to hear you two ladies for myself. On your mark, get set, go.
I I think we've been practicing for about 46 years on and off. So
Yes, we have.
that banner has been going on, we could say 44 years if you include our younger sisters. So together, it's a competition. So it doesn't really require practice. It just goes on and on. So
It's just somebody taking a breath and giving somebody a break.
yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh my goodness. I recall that the two of you did a lot of right things for your parents. And I like to start when I just do a regular podcast, which is just recorded, it's not live. I like to start by asking the person, what have you done right for someone challenged by some issues in aging? And you've done a lot of things right, but yet you call yourselves reluctant. And that's probably very I think that maybe takes away the halos and the perfection, and just goes, you know what, we just had to. And it was not a choice that, we're like, boy, we can't wait until we take care of mom. So yeah, tell us about that.
I'll jump in first. Ha.
JJ's the oldest.
Ta-da! I would say probably the right things that we've done are the hardest things, and that is going ahead and making the decisions that not everyone agreed with, and coming to peace with that. That was the hard things. There were times in the past when we had to make decisions. When medicines got off, we had to make decisions to have mom, to have harder. We had to make a decision to take her to Florida and have treatment when we're located in Knoxville, Tennessee. It was the best treatment. There were family members that said, you can't take her that far. But in our hearts, we knew that was best. She was very unhappy with us that we felt like after that, we needed to go to assisted living because we needed help. We couldn't monitor her 24 hours a day. She needed medicine every 2 hours. That was a painful decision, still to this day. But we made it. It was hard. It was the right thing. And, we've gone through 3 assisted living facilities. She's back at home now in the community with our saint of a youngest sister. We call her the saint sister. They're hard decisions, but we made them. And so those are the right things. They're not flowers. They're not unicorn decisions. It's not always easy decisions, but they're the right decisions. And that's we had to come to peace, and we give ourselves a lot of grace in those. That's what we've done right, is kind of forgiveness for ourselves.
Wow.
The right decision for right now. So I think that's really important, is what's the right decision for right now, for today. And so our decision to move our mom into assisted living because of her inability to care for herself, less even about us, but we couldn't care for her the way she needed. And then after going through the experience of a congregate setting, which I'm familiar with from my past history, I think they weren't able to meet her medical needs. And we had to make difficult decisions around that. And again, the youngest sister said, yes, I'll do it. She had the ability to do it. She didn't have the ability to do it 3 years earlier. That's the thing. So it's right decision at the right time. And the right decision sometimes looks differently at a later time. Yeah. And so we had the ability, and again, a lot of grace. And I appreciated, Kim, you saying, there's no perfect people. I'm also recovering perfectionist, and I had to give myself permission to not let great be the enemy of good. And today I was good enough. Today I was good enough.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful. I gotta say, that's beautiful. The thing that you all have done that, I tip my hat and round up of applause and everything, is to build in the flexibility. Because everything is for now, and the grace of forgiveness. I tell people that, it seems like every year I get this aha moment that sticks with me for the rest of my life. And last year's was, every moment that we're living in is an experiment, because we have never, ever been there before. And sometimes we'll get it right, and sometimes we're going to swing and miss, and then we get a redo. So it's not that we're always wrong or poor judgment. It's that in that moment, you try, you fail, you try again. And it's called learning. And if we can give ourselves that kind of grace in these really hard decisions, then maybe we can give others that kind of grace as well. So your story was beautiful.
Yeah, it's just, if you can forgive yourself, first of all, like you said, Kimberly, sometimes we get so many setbacks, but I found that a setback is usually a setup for a comeback. If you can learn from that experience, you can grow from it. And JJ and Natalie, your decisions on your mom was fantastic. Over the last 7+ years, I've been doing all my health with an attitude, gratitude with an attitude, and faith with an attitude for hundreds of assisted living facilities and memory care units all over the state of Texas. Some of them live before COVID hit locally here in the Dallas area. I have seen so many wonderful things about the assisted living care facilities. And a lot of the women and men that have gone there have said, oh, this is the greatest thing. Others, like you said, some were the right decision at the right time. Others are not quite happy there, and they need, they need to have people like you watching over them, saying, okay, let's learn from this and let's change it. And then maybe now's the right time to put them back in assisted living home, because I've found some fantastic assisted living homes. I mean, fantastic. And I've also found some that, it's sad.
Not so much.
It is a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
And I go there and I try to uplift and motivate them. And right before you talk about dementia and Alzheimer's, right before COVID hit, I started reprising. I was a musician for 25 plus years, still am, but I started redoing some of my live concerts, and I love doing this for these folks in the assisted living homes, because you talk about good for their memory. You can find these people with heavy dementia. They start mouthing the words.
That's right.
There's a glare, there's a brightness in their eyes. They start singing along. And to me, it's just an amazing experience. And a lot of that, like you said, Martin, comes from being able to hear and listen to these things. And being a musician, we knew when we were a rock band, we just turned the volume up to 10, and it has affected my hearing. So, all of these things go into play as you get older. We're talking about age here. And to me, age is just a number. It's what you feel in your heart and your soul. Mark Victor Hansen wrote the book, who helped write the book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. He has a saying, and I love it. He says, I'm going to live till I'm 125 years old with an option to renew. And I think everybody ought to have that attitude. And that will help you. Your attitude is so important. So thank you, guys.
Wow.
You put together a great group of people here, Christine. Wow.
Isn't it great that I just send out these little invitations and people go, okay, I'll give it a try. And I already know that they've got something to share with me. I know that I'm going to, I don't know, get a little inspired, get a little smarter, just expand what I think I think I've met a lot of people now, but it just gets bigger and bigger. And I love this. I am so grateful that Martin said, this is my first one. And I'm like, woo, I am so glad this maiden voyage that this bunch got to share that with you. Martin, are you an audiologist because someone said, you're very good at this. You should probably, become part of the medical field. Was there a reason? Because I honestly don't know if there's a reason why you went into audiology, or if that's even the first thing that you went into.
No, actually, it's kind of a coincidence also. But while I was looking at education, I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And do something good without being kind of eaten up, And if you help people with hearing, you help them with a specific problem, you get the shiny eyes while they live there. Wow,
Yes.
So it's a very grateful occupation, really. When clients are leaving, you get this gratitude from them, which often is more valuable than the paycheck.
Sometimes,
wow.
I would agree. A common thread, I think, between all of us is having a servant heart. We're in the helping profession, but it's not help. It's really just we want to serve others. I know that's how we look at it. JJ and I look at it. We come from a place. The foundation of where we come from is having a servant heart, and with whatever we do, regardless, whether what I do, I work in the mental health field full time, and JJ's in the business side and was a commercial banker. And but she helped others. She helped dreams come to be reality, and helping people get connected to help impact the lives of others. And I hear you saying that, Martin, and your music, Fred. I've seen lots of videos online that talks about individuals with, I believe it's dementia and Alzheimer's, how music really impacts and lights up the brain, and the memories from our stored spaces come forward. And there was a beautiful video. A woman was a beautiful dancer. She was a ballerina. It's online. And she hears the music to what she danced to in her 20s. And I think she was in her 90s. And you see her arms move as if she was dancing again. It's the most beautiful, magical thing that you've ever seen. And she sit there and you saw her doing this. And it's magical about what the brain remembers and what stimulates the brain, because it's just, and so it goes with audiology and that sort of thing.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I love that. So
I'm so glad that you found something that is not a thankless job. I'm so glad. That is advice for a person who is looking, I've got this ability. Through the years, I have met a number of people who went into medical and then said, I can't deal with it when I lose a patient, when I can't fix them. I got to the point where I was just curled up and didn't even want to go to work anymore. And audiology is a great direction to go with your abilities and with your knowledge of technology and the advances in technology. I'm gobsmacked that there are no really new testing procedures in the last 80 some years. It's oh my goodness! I'm so glad you're shaking those bushes.
There's only one Nobel Prize winner in audiology. That's Georg von Beckesy. And he made this new audiometry, the Beckesy audiometry. And I'm a fan of that, and because that way you can test every frequency, not just the steps we are doing today. You get a full line, and you get the difference Lehman, which says something about the recruitment. I don't know if you know about recruitment, but it's an element of hearing. So I think that is and there is research and there is things done, and if you just put the things together, there might be progress.
Wow.
Wow. Recruitment, and that's a part of hearing.
Recruitment is the disturbance of sound when you lose hearing. It's not that sounds have to be higher, just to be higher to hear them, but they also become more uncomfortable sooner. So the actual space you can hear in really increases from both sides, and that's the effect of recruitment. And this is with the sensorineural hearing losses, which is usually for presbyacusis, which is old man hearing,
Fantastic.
I hope that makes sense. Just
Fred, what were you going to say?
I do a lot of work with safety. Safety is one of my main goals, and I do a attitude seminar called Safety Within Attitude. I was in construction for most of my life. I was an electrician, and then I was a supervisor at Texas Instruments and Raytheon, and I did a lot of stuff with health and safety. And hearing was huge because a lot of the maintenance guys and construction workers, they're around all these loud machineries and stuff. And it was a key factor. And the longer I was in it and the more advanced we got, we learned how important it was to wear earplugs and be really very conscious of the noise levels that we were around, because the decibels were really high. Just, you've been around, your husband's cutting with a skill saw or doing drilling, and all this whining, real high-pitched noises that you deal with in construction. That's amazing. So what you're doing, Martin, is just a huge, huge factor in as we get older. Hearing is important. Like you said, Kimberly, when you start losing part of that hearing loss or something, it affects your mental capacity, and you start shutting down. So when your attitude starts shutting down, your connectivities in your brain, they start slowing down too. And so all of these things, hearing, sight, attitude, being around other people, socializing, having people like you, JJ and Natalie, watching out for you, making decisions, all of these go into fact making us live not only longer, but more prosperously with our health, our, the loved ones around us, and being able to do what we can at whatever age we're at. I'm 77, and I feel like, I'm just still a 12-and-a-half-year-old kid living here, wanting to go out and play cowboys and indies, and just have a good time. So this group of people here, y'all are just, you're in a field that I admire, and I watch you guys and what you do. And Kimberly, you were talking about being able to help people get through depressions and things. My daughter and son-in-law are both detectives on the Dallas Police Force. And they've been there. They're fixing to retire here pretty quick, but they see the bad side of life the same way with people in the medical profession, see all the hurt and the pain. And so these things can help age a person. So what you do, Kimberly, is help guide them through that. That's marvelous. Marvelous. Next, your turn.
Well, we do know how, I'll say this, we do know, and Kimberly would say this as well, we do know how stress impacts the body and how it affects your immune system and how it can age us, early aging. And so, and then of course, what you don't use, it's kind of your neurons are all use it or lose it. And, so I think, it's really important that we stay connected. And how do you're right about, hey, I need to stay connected, whether it's through my device, through assistive technology or AI, or how do I remain connected to other people? I think working in the healthcare field, it's exceptionally important to remain connected, because relationships really are the oxygen of human development. Wow. And so I think that's really important. I think that's one of the things that like JJ and I are doing, similar to kind of mediation. We're looking to create a podcast about reluctant caregiver, and the reluctance is really surrounds our own insecurities about, again, perfectionist hat, about really being able to care for your loved one or the individual that you're caring for, really to what you believe they deserve. And we have these high expectations that no one else holds us to, really, if you think about it. There'll be some judgy moments from the outsiders. It's easier to, the hindsight's 2020 or more Monday morning quarterback. But, I think we want to offer a space where people can relate, can feel inspired, can receive education. And of course, we're kind of funny. We believe we're funny. And so we like to laugh a lot, because half of the scenarios, like me crawling underneath a stall at Walmart to get to my mom because she was not feeling well. And so she couldn't open the door. And so I crawled under a stall at the dirtiest Walmart on earth. And there I went. And that was ugly. But you've got to laugh at those moments. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure you'll break down and cry. So we share our stories so that people feel like, well, I feel that way sometimes. And I'm like, and that's okay. It's our connectedness that makes us be able to manage through the day.
Yeah. Now that's a great attitude.
Yes. And that's what keeps us sane, I think, is just, and thankfully, and we say this, it's so important that there's three of us. And so I think our goal, once we realize that this is what we're supposed to do, we have careers that we built our lives on, and then this this became our passion. And in our hearts, we were like, no, this is what we're supposed to do. I'm not supposed to be in finance. Natalie's not supposed to be in her corporate career. This is what we've been led to do. And it takes three of us to really feel like we contribute to our mom's well-being. Like we are giving her what we feel is the life that she deserves. And we look at people where there is just one person that is trying to support their loved one. And they are the finance person, they are transportation, they are the grocery person, they are the gopher, they are the cleaning person. Like you look at all that, and it's overwhelming. And so, thankfully, there's three of us, but we just in our heart, people need someone that they can go to and trust, and somebody that'll just listen. And so we want to be we want to be everybody's tribe. So like, come on over into our tribe. And because everybody, I think, just wants to be heard. And I think maybe that's what society in general is just missing these days.
You two ladies have children?
What's
Do you
that?
have kids? Do you have children?
I have step kids, and they're
Okay.
perfect. I would take them. If the Lord had blessed me with them, I think they're perfect.
Very good. That's great.
I
What
do
I'm
not.
saying
I
is,
have raised children my entire life, other people's children in the foster care system.
do you realize the example that you guys are setting for the youth that you're around about caring and that giving attitude? That speaks volume towards any young people that you're around, that are around you, that watch what you do and the successes and failures that you have, but you still keep moving forward. You are a blessing to those that are around you. So that's why I asked if you had children, and what an example you guys are. Wow. Kudos.
I think we hope that. I think that, I think one of the other things I know, Fred, that has really touched us as we've gotten more into caregiving is there's those terms that talk about sandwich generations, where people are helping with their parents, but they're also raising their children. But then there's such an amazing number and it's due to baby boomers or people having children later in life. But there are these 25-year-olds that are caregiving for their parents. And I can't imagine, I'm 49 now, but if I were 25 and having to take care of my mom, and our mom has Parkinson's and has for 20 years, she's only 68 years old. And if I was 25 and having to take care of my mom, I'm going to tell you, I'd be dropping her off at the end of the street.
It is not easy. It is not.
It's a hard job, but I think our goal is, to help not only people that are our age or older, taking care of family, loved ones, even, younger children that are, we met a man earlier who has a son that has complex disabilities. He's 30. Wow. But people that are just trying to care for their loved ones. But, if you're 25, you need just someone to listen, and you've got to reach. There are caregivers everywhere. Wow. Yeah. And everybody eventually is going to be a caregiver. And we all have, you feel like you're that Coke commercial from 100 years ago. We just all have to come together and take care of one another. Right, and exactly. I guess that's the way and we say that, we're from the South. And Martin, you may not know what that means, but we're from the South. And it's just kind of like, you just have to take care of one another. And I think there's a lot of that's been missing. And I think that's our goal. Everybody just needs to show a little kindness and just do their best. And just...
Well said.
I just want to come up with a quote here, which kind of summarizes what you're saying. And it's Winston Churchill. He said, "Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm."
That's right. Exactly.
It's very good.
Exactly. And
wow.
That's one of those wow factors that come in. Yes. I do a little story that I do in all my seminars. It's about that, finding that golden nugget in whatever you've gone to, whether it's a training session, whether it's a lesson you're teaching, anything that you watch. I get a lot of complaints saying, I went to this seminar. It was 8 hours long. I was bored to tears. It was terrible. I said, what did you find? One nugget. One little nugget in there. And sometimes most of, oh yeah, they said I wrote it down or something. I think that's what it's all about. I don't care what you go. I've gone to
Mm.
week-long seminars. I've gone to training sessions, and safety is one of the most boring things that anybody ever does. That's why I love my safety session. It's a lot of fun. It's full of jokes and stories, and I keep it going because safety sessions are like watching paint dry. And but this nugget, I teach everybody, look, I don't care how bored you are, look for that little silver line, look for that one little nugget. And I always talk about these nomads that they were gathered around a campfire, and all of a sudden this light shone down from the heaven. Let me get into dialect. There was these nomads, and they were sitting around the campfire, and all of a sudden this great light shone down from the heavens, and they thought, oh, it's going to be a great message of health, wealth, and something. And the voice spoke to him and said, gather as many pebbles as you can, place them in your saddlebags, and tomorrow travel a day's journey, and it will find you sad, and it will find you glad. Poof, and the light went away. Well, the nomads were disgruntled and very disappointed because, what? They expected something of health, wealth, and prosperity, but no, this great light told them to pick up a few rocks. Why? Well, they picked up a few pebbles and tossed them in their saddlebags, and the next day they went on a long journey. And that day's journey in, when they were getting ready for camp again, they reached into their saddlebags, and for every pebble that they had picked up, it had become a diamond. And they were glad they had diamonds, but they were sad because they had not picked up enough pebbles when they had the chance. And those are the nuggets I teach everybody. Whatever you're in, whatever you go to, pick as many pebbles as you can pick up and put them in your saddlebag. So tomorrow, somewhere in the future, it will become your diamond instead of what I call your I quickens. And I quickens is just an acronym I use for if I knew what I knew now. Make them your diamonds. That's why I say conferences like this, I've already picked up, I'm writing down all kinds of little nuggets that I'm picking up from you guys. And everywhere I go, I don't care how boring it is, there's something in there to teach us something that we can share. So, wow, you guys have been amazing.
Mm. Kimberly, I would like for you to just finish off anything that's come to your mind about what you do. What caught my ear was mediator and end of life, and I didn't know if that goes together, but similar to Fred's his kids who are detectives, it's just one of the most difficult, emotionally difficult times. You haven't practiced ahead of time. Now, what is this going to be like when we lose them necessarily? But I just wanted to know if there was maybe just a general, leaving out the names and everything, just a general moment where you were like, yeah, I did good today. I don't know. You just run with it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Christine. I circle back to JJ and Natalie and them talking about having to make difficult decisions. And you mentioned the All Authors Association. I actually have a book in there called, does it work? No, it doesn't.
Over here.
Yeah, you can't see it. It's called How to Live Forever, A Guide to Writing the Final Chapter of Your Life Story. And I mean, Christine, I even hear you say something about from 50 on. And I'm here to tell you, it starts before 50 when we're faced with those, decisions that are literally decisions between life and death. And so my book is about having those conversations ahead of time, having them around the legal issues, the healthcare decisions, so that maybe quality of life can be the focus over just being alive. And you can define that quality of life around what you want your celebration of life to look like, about healing fractured relationships. And because at the end, that's what matters to all of us, not what we did or how much we made, but those relationships in our lives. And finally, leaving our story as our legacy. And part of that we leave is the last chapter. And we leave that unplanned. And for a
Wow.
lot of families, it can tear them apart making decisions. I hear JJ and Natalie's family. I'm just awed to see such peaceful agreement, and that, Natalie said maybe somebody from the outside. No, always from the outside, someone else has an opinion about how you should do it. And this is hard, but if we plan for it. So to answer your question directly, I walked a family through that, and I talk about them every time I talk about end of life for my book. And it was a gentleman young, and he'd been a football player, probably from traumatic brain injury. He had a progressive illness where he would become more and more paralyzed and eventually die. And about the time when he received his diagnosis, he came to me and he said, I've had a good life. I'm good with God. I'm just going to wait to die. And I said, well, that's an option. You can just wait to die, or you can finish this knowing that your children are modeling. They're going to learn from you end of life, that maybe there's some unfinished things that you want to do. So fast forward the year and a half more that he lived. When it came time to call hospice, this family, I won't tell the joke, but they had sense of humor is what kept them going as well. But they made that decision with laughter, a joke. And I walked out of their house going, it was being prepared for this moment that made all the difference in the world for this
Wow.
family.
Wow.
So talking about that, every day's a gift, right? And we don't know when that'll end. So it doesn't have to be when you're old. It can be tomorrow. I had a 5-year-old niece die of a brainstem glioma, and nobody thinks that will happen, but it does, because this is life. It's death isn't a failure of the medical system. It's not a punishment, for eating too much bacon. It's not abnormal. It's something that happens, like conflict. And if we shine a light on it, like someone mentioned earlier, the dark places, if we bring it to light and talk about it, we can make the journey so much better. So
Exactly.
I think that's my hope for now. That's what I'm, called to do. So.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I had hoped for. And I go into these group conversations going, I really should have studied each person so that I will make sure that I say the right things. But you all make sure that the right things are said to each other. I am so privileged to be here. Helen Murphy, she made a comment like 35 minutes ago. Attitude of gratitude. I hear it's good for you. I'm hearing today it's good for that other person, like Martin, when someone goes, oh, I'm so grateful. Boy, I didn't know what I was missing. I'm, the tears and the smiles, and, to hear somebody was like, well, we've been talking hospice, and I guess this is the moment, or,
Yep.
the two of you sisters, 3 sisters, who are all going, man, we're so glad we're doing this together. And we're so glad that we're learning to forgive ourselves and not make every moment or every crisis. Oh my goodness, if only, what a terrible way to live, of just always regret. And I heard one time that was 2 of the saddest words, if only. And I don't want to end on sad words. So I'm thinking audiometry. I'm going to have to look that up because I don't know what it is. And then, what are you writing, Fred? Faith with an attitude. Then we have the reluctant caregivers wanting to touch people who are 25. And right across the street, right there, this sweet young face looked at me and said, I wished I'd known about that when I was losing my mom. And I just thought, oh my goodness, she went through that whole journey. Journey's the nice word. She went through
Mhm.
those terrible days and didn't know that there was support for someone. She probably felt like she was the only 21-year-old whose mom was declining and passing, because people don't run around with big badges on saying,
Right.
I've been through this terrible situation. I've conquered this. I have these difficulties. I've seen terrible things and had to deal with it. No one runs around with that. So thank you so much, everyone here, for putting yourselves on a screen where someone 25 or 95 can say, I'm not alone. And there is something for this, or I didn't even recognize this in myself, that I needed this until you said it. I'm so grateful, everyone.
Well, we're grateful to you, Christine. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, everyone. I'm just going to wave goodbye and have a wonderful December.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.